Let's talk NFL win totals for the AFC West for the 2023 NFL season. Now, we're getting into it right about now. And of course, 4 teams to talk about in the AFC West. Let's start with the Denver Broncos, a team, they're lined 8.5 wins. If they finish above 500, the Broncos will cash winning bets for over bettors. If they finish below 500, they will cash winning bets for under bettors. And of course, this is a team that was undercoached last year. Of course, we know that. Sean Payton, certainly an upgrade in that regard. Although, when you look at the history of teams that won a Super Bowl, coaches that won a Super Bowl in one place and then move to another place, they don't win second Super Bowl. That's a long-term trend. There's 7 coaches who've been to Super Bowls with different teams. So, Payton, an upgrade at the quarterback position. They spent a bunch of money in free agency. Mike McClinchy, Ben Powers, shoring up the offensive line. Zach Allen, shoring up the defensive line, spending in the trenches. We like that. Of course, they didn't have a first-round pick in the draft from the Russell Wilson trade. They pick up Marvin Mims with their top selection in the second round. Drew Sanders. They make some decent. It's a decent draft for what limited resources they had. When you look at their schedule, they have a Thursday night football game, week 6 against the Chiefs. They have a Monday night football game, week 10 up a bye against the Bills. Week 11, Sunday night football against Minnesota. Christmas Eve game against the Pats, as well as a TV game. They do have a 3-game road trip to open December. The only other set of back-to-back roads coming week 3 and 4 at Miami, Chicago. They're extra games. Of course, when we talk about the AFC West, they're going to face these 2 divisions, the NFC North and the AFC East. That means travel. That means traveling back east to Eastern time zones and Central time zones for these teams. There are 3 extra games, very manageable: Washington, Cleveland, Houston, because last year was so awful. That being said, you look on paper, you say Denver's all right. Their defense is okay. Their offense is okay. Russell Wilson, he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Sean Payton's a Super Bowl winning coach. Yeah, Russell Wilson was a Super Bowl winning quarterback many years ago. Sean Payton was a Super Bowl winning coach many years ago. I'm not convinced that Denver's going to be a contender in the AFC West. So I'm looking at the Broncos. I'm leaning towards the under 8.5 wins. I think this team, if Wilson plays great, they can get there. I'm not convinced Wilson plays great. He hasn't played great in either of the last 2 years, and that's putting it mildly. So we talk about Denver under, a gift that keeps on giving. If you're betting Broncos unders in recent years, you've done very well. Let's talk about Kansas City over the season win total. And this one is, in my mind, in some sense of a no-brainer when you talk about Kansas City. There isn't a coach in the NFL with a better track record in season wins than Andy Reid. I mean, for real. Andy Reid has gone over his win total every year in Kansas City. Now, that does include seasons where they won 9, 10, and 11. That was 4 of the first 5 years they won that. They've had 12-plus wins each of the last 5 years. Kansas City Chiefs. They're lined at 11.5 wins again this season. Look what happened in free agency. Oh, my God, they lost their receivers. Yeah, they did. Juju Smith-Schuster gone. Mecole Hardman gone. Frank Clark gone. I understand. There were some losses there. But this is a team, when you look at what they have in place, besides the Super Bowl winning quarterback, you bring in Juwan Taylor at offensive line, let Orlando Brown go. I have no problem with that. They bring in Charles Omenihu, who's the top-rated edge rusher from last year. And again, not a team with a ton of draft capital. But goodness gracious, you have the best quarterback in the NFL. You have a coach who continues to go over the total. You have a defense that's going to get after the quarterback. You have a defense that can make plays in the secondary. You have an offense, even without the one receiver that blows everyone away. Playmakers everywhere. And the depth is still there for Kansas City, a team that I expect to be able to withstand injury. Schedule-wise, look, it's not going to be easy. Again, they have all the travel for NFC North and AFC East. There are 3 extra games: Jacksonville, Philly, and Cincy, all tough opponents. You have a week 10 bye, that's perfect, and a ton of week TV games. The league wants this team to be competitive. Week 1, week 4, week 6, week 11, week 13, week 15, and they could get flexed in more. Only 2 2-game road trips, 2 2-game homesteads, schedule-wise. Difficult, but not unbelievably difficult. Chiefs, a one-way team. We're going to bet them season win-wise. We're going to bet them over the total. Let's talk about the Las Vegas Raiders You see a split line for them. There's books that have them at 7. There are books that have them at 7.5, juiced heavily to the under. And you can understand why. It wasn't a good year last year. The Derek Carr for Jimmy Garoppolo QB flip is certainly, it's not an upgrade. However you want to call it, it's not an upgrade bringing Garoppolo over Carr. Not that Carr was great. Garoppolo was decent last year in limited playing time. But another new system, another new team. I know he's coming back with Josh McDaniels, but it's not like McDaniels is a great track record as an NFL head coach. And of course, they first round, Tyree Wilson, edge rusher, who could have been the top of the draft, but he fell a little bit. They got a decent skill position talent. They're okay. I mean, the Raiders are okay. The problem is schedule-wise, it's tough. And 3 extra games, Pittsburgh, Giants, Indy. They get a Sunday Night Football week 3. They get Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football week 5. And Thursday Night Football in December against the Chargers. 5 early start games traveling east, a late week 13 bye. And when we look at the Raiders' schedule, this one stood out to me. They have only 2 really weak teams on their slate all year. Teams that are lined under 8, Indy, Chicago. Both of those are in back-to-back sets on the road. The late bye, the lack of lesser opponents. I'm not convinced the Raiders are going to have a particularly good year this year, but certainly wouldn't look to bet them over the total. The Chargers are really interesting. Lining on 9.5 wins. There's so much upside for this team. When you look at the Charger starters, when you look at the talent they have, you say, man, this team, they're Super Bowl caliber. I think they are at 9.5 wins. And then you remember what happened last year, the concerns about Staley, the questions as to whether this team can stay healthy, because the one thing the Chargers don't have, it stands out like a sore thumb, they don't have quality depth. If and when the injuries come, this team will decline significantly. And that's my biggest concern about LA. No big flashy moves in free agency. They didn't have a lot of money to spend, although they still have some cap room available. We could see the Chargers make a move at some point here over the summer and pick up somebody that can help them. Quentin Johnson certainly is a top pick, is someone who I think will help them a lot. But we're talking about a team, an elite QB. Their starters are great. I worry about depth for LA. And from a schedule standpoint, again, there's lots of travel. Monday Night Football, week 6 against Dallas. They have another one against the Jets. They have a Sunday Night Football, weeks 8 and 12. Thursday Night Football, week 18 against Kansas City could get flexed in. 3 extra games, Tennessee, Dallas, Baltimore. That's tough. Week 18, they play Kansas City. Say, oh, Kansas City's resting starters. That might be a win. Maybe not. In week 18, the last game of the regular season, Chiefs are 7-2 straight up. So while I like LA, I don't love them. I worry about the depth. I worry about the schedule. Probably not a team that's going to be included in this year's season. There's the AFC West. Thanks for watching.